everybody, and welcome to Garden Style. So today I'm going to introduce you to some more container planting for the fall, and these containers will actually take you all the way through the winter as well. So lots of specimens here, a lot of which I have taken from my own yard and pots that I'm starting to tear apart for the fall and start replanting some of these plants that will take me through the fall and the winter. But first of all, before I get started, I just wanted to thank all of the new subscribers that have signed up just recently. I've hit a new milestone of 1,000 subscribers, which is absolutely amazing considering I just started this in March this past year. So in the last 6-7 months, a lot of you have signed up, and hopefully I continue to inspire you guys to get out there, get your hands dirty, get creative, and learn a lot about plants and planting. So I'm going to take you through some of these new specimens this morning. I'm actually recording this on the first day of fall, which is kind of cool. And I'm busy. We finally got some rain here in the Northwest over the last 3 or 4 days, which was a huge relief for all of us. And just by walking the yard this morning, I can see that all the plants are much happier now that Mother Nature has donned them with a little water, more than I've been able to give them in the last few weeks. So we are inching into probably my second most favorite time of the year, other than spring, obviously, and that is the fall. Because we can now get busy again with planting, redesigning our pots, cleaning up our beds, and of course getting ready for Old Man Winter, which we all know is just around the corner and will be here really soon. Alright, so I'm going to quit my blabbing and get started with some of the specimens that I have here in this wheelbarrow. I've got a wheelbarrow full of stuff. Right behind me you're going to see a big black container. I actually have 2 of them that are sitting here, and another container will be sitting here in the center. And I'll be taking you through the process as I go to build and design this particular area, which is actually an entranceway into my front porch. So everything is covered, it's going to be protected, and this is the first thing I see when I get out of the car and head inside. So I usually start at the front porch and work my way around the house. I'll have a few things on the back deck, but not a whole lot. But this is what I'm going to be looking at probably all the way through January until I come back out here and start freshening up pots and replanting again for the spring. But for today, I'm going to show you some of these really neat specimens that I have come across. This first one I wanted to start with is actually a foundation plant that, and I have 2 of these, which will actually be going in 2 of the taller containers here. And this is a golden dwarf threadleaf cypress. And as you can see, it is drop dead gorgeous. It has these beautiful thread-like leaves on them. It is definitely a false cypress is what they call this. Definitely an evergreen, but I love it because it has this feathery, stringy foliage, and it turns this beautiful golden bronze in the fall. And I can probably keep this in the container for a couple of years, but just to let you guys know how hardy this is good down to minus 35 degrees. So you're probably looking at zones 3, 4, all the way up to 9 or 10 for this particular plant. Now, the gold thread cypresses are pretty slow growing, and they have this beautiful rounded, mounded shape to it. And I love them because I never have to prune them, I don't have to cut them back, and after the first year of getting established, you rarely have to water them. You know, unless of course you have them in a container, you may have to water them more than that. But this is a beautiful evergreen that I wanted to use towards the back of the container. And even though it's low mounding, it's going to add a really neat texture to the container when I get done planting it. So I wanted to introduce you to that one. And then another really neat specimen, as I was searching through the nursery, I was trying to find some plants that had a combination of berries or something that makes it feel like fall. And this is one of those plants. This is actually St. John's wort. Now it's in the Hypericum family, and yes, this is the same plant that actually has medicinal qualities to it as well. And in many videos back, I think in my May or June video, I can't remember which one, I showed you the ground cover version of Hypericum, and this is actually the shrub version. Now, this particular plant I really love because, again, I like to get mileage out of my plants. Keeps things interesting all year round. So during the spring it'll get these beautiful yellow flowers. It actually I'm seeing bloom in the spring as well as midsummer, and I've had these just continue to keep blooming throughout the summer all the way into the fall. And then once the flowers drop off, they start to form these beautiful red berries on them. So it takes you all the way into winter with these berries. Now this is a deciduous shrub, so it will lose its leaves, and I'm totally okay with that. As I go to redesign some of these containers for you during the winter time and start dressing them up for Christmas, a few stems in the pot are okay, and we'll certainly be getting into that as we get closer to the holidays. So St. John's wort, this particular variety is called Ignite Red, and it is good to, let me see here, down to -10 degrees or zone 6. Now this is going to be in a covered area. If you're planting some of these plants in a covered area, you might be able to get away with -10 degrees on a covered porch. So if you live in zones 4 or 5, don't be afraid to try these plants. If you know they're going to be in a covered, protected area, they actually should be okay. So this is also deer resistant. This is one of those plants that deer do not like to eat. So for those of you who may have issues with deer, I know I do, I'm going to start mentioning that more and more all the time as I go through my videos as to what plants are really deer resistant and what plants actually attract deer. Because yeah, some of us have issues with that. So this is a full sun plant. It's good to zone 6. It'll get about 1.5 to 3 feet high. So this is a miniature version. And you normally plant these about 18 to 24 inches apart. But I got 2 of these at the nursery for the containers that are right here behind me. But I just liked them because they're going to add some more color with their berries. And of course I can put them out in the yard later so I can enjoy their flowers during the summer. So extended season with these particular shrubs. So there you go with that one. Now another cute little plant. This is actually heather. I do like to add white to some of my fall containers and spring and summer. It gives a place for the eye to rest whenever you place white inside of a container mixed with other colors. And this obviously just has a really cool texture to it. So heather has become one of my favorite plants, especially where I live, just due to the fact that it's evergreen, hangs on to its leaves. This particular variety is called Valentina. It's a medium growing umbrella evergreen shrub. What do they mean by umbrella? Well, as you can see, it's already trying to create its shape. So you see how it just kind of drapes and folds over the pot. So it just adds some fun and a little more movement to the pot when I put it in. So this particular plant, its blooms actually begin in August, and this will probably keep blooming right until November. It does prefer full sun to part shade. It gets about 10 to 15 inches high, so this is one of those low mounding type shrubs. If you want to move it out into the yard later, that will look fantastic in the front border of your garden beds. But love this thing, and these are good to zones 4. So this can withstand cold. It can also withstand drought once it's established. So it's another one of those plants that can be low maintenance after it's been in the ground for about a year or so, and you don't have to come around and water it for very often. So heather, this is just one of 1,000 varieties of heather that you can get at the nurseries. And they had these cute little buggers, and they were actually 40% off, because it is that time of the year here in fall where nurseries are looking to push their plants out as much as possible. So I highly recommend you go visit your nurseries right now, because you're going to find some really golden deals as far as plants go. And you're in the perfect time of the year to start planting and transplanting a lot of your plants out in the yard. So another neat variety there. This is for a different container, and needless to say, I love this because of its red foliage. This is another grass that I highly recommend, and it just stands out when it's out in the garden as well, not just for containers. But I wanted this particular specimen for his color, being we're going into that time of the year. And this is called Japanese bloodgrass. And its height gets about 18 to 24 inches. It's good down to -15 degrees, so it's very hardy. It will spread, and as fall comes around, the leaves just get redder and redder and redder. So they just get this deep, deep color, and it's beautiful. And once it starts to die back, all you got to do is just cut it back to the ground, and it will spring right back up again in the spring. So I'm going to keep this in the container probably until early spring, and then it'll end up finding a really neat home out in the yard somewhere. And more than likely, I'll probably divide it. I'll probably divide this into 2-3 different plants once we get into the spring. Cool thing about grasses, they're super easy to divide and transplant. So, Japanese bloodgrass. Now another plant that of course I pulled, these were plants that were pre-existing in pots that I had on the back deck. This is Mexican feathergrass, and needless to say, I love its texture and its softness, and of course it's got all those great seed heads on it now, so definitely awesome for fall. And I pulled these out of the containers on the back deck because I'm not going to be back there as often. And there's containers that I just start to put away as we get into fall so that I won't be maintaining them during the wintertime. Plus they're fully exposed in the back. They're not under a roof like I'm here on the front porch. So I chose Mexican feathergrass. This is good down to zone 4, all the way up to 9 or 10. And I use these year round. I put them in just about all my containers. And this is why, because later on, if I'm pulling containers apart, I can actually pull these out and transplant them and reuse them somewhere else and extend my growing season all the way through the winter. So once these start to die back, same thing. I can cut these back and they will spring right back in the spring. And it's another one that you can divide in the spring as well. So Mexican feathergrass there. And let's see. Whenever I think of fall, I think of frost. And Dusty Miller fills the void there. Now this is called Silver Dust. I like it for its lacy leaves and of course for its frosted kind of look that it has. And this guy, let's see if he'll give me some information on this little teeny tiny tag. This grows about 8 to 12 inches tall, and these will die back if it gets super cold. I've seen these hold their own when it gets to 20 degrees, and it's here on a covered porch, so it may last through, but I don't really care. As long as it's there holding its own, as long as it wants, there in the container, I'll probably see this all the way through until at least Thanksgiving, when our temperatures really start to dive down, get down into the teens and get really super cold. I might lose it, then I might not. I've seen these pretty tough, just depends. It's on a covered porch, so it may do very well. But I chose it, of course, for its color, because I am going to be mixing it with other plants, like you see here. Here, this is Ornamental Kale. And I love it for its rosettes and of course the purple color, and it just looks fabulous with plants like these. And yes, you can eat this. It's an ornamental type of kale. They're not really grown for the taste, so they might be a little bitter, but I have used the big large leaves in the bottom of a plate when you're wanting to show off a meal. So they're great for decoration reasons when you're fixing dinner. But its primary purpose, it's grown for its ornamental look. And I just love the purple and of course the ruffly leaves that they offer. And it's just nice to know that they are edible. And these are super hardy. They of course love cold weather. So these will be good all the way up until Christmas, sitting in the containers. But loved having those in there. And of course you can't resist pansies and violas. So definitely got some colors of those. I got a burgundy and I also got some orange, being we're going into the fall. So those will be getting mixed in with the containers as well. And what else? Trailers such as creeping jennies, and this I just pulled out of the yard. I just dug it up and I'm going to actually reuse it in the containers. And this is actually a really bright lime green during the spring and the summer. But now that we're getting into fall, it starts to have a slight auburn color. It starts to turn color and get kind of orangey. And of course I love it just because it's a trailer. So I'm going to be utilizing this as well in the container. And some variegated ivies that I also pulled out of my back containers on the back deck. And this is why I like ivies so much, is they're evergreen. You can plant, transplant them, move them around, use them as trailers wherever you need them, and they don't mind. They're so hardy, and these are just really healthy plants. I mean, they were super tiny when I put them in the spring, and they've just taken off. They've done really well. But I always like to have some ivies hanging around year-round, just because I'm constantly moving them around, and they're just great for decoration in the containers. So there's an overall introduction to a bunch of plants that I'm getting ready to plant for you in containers. I'm going to start with the tall black ones behind me. Now these black containers that I have sitting behind me, I actually put 4 or 5 gallon milk jugs in the bottoms of them. That's my secret to not having to fill up the entire container full of soil. I'm not going to need all that soil anyway, as a lot of these plants just slow down and virtually stop growing during the wintertime. So why fill up a pot and make it super heavy when you don't need to? And so I have about this much soil sitting in these pots. All the rest of it are milk containers. So if you're looking for a way to fill up the bottom of a pot without putting a whole lot of soil into it, there you go. You can use gallon milk containers, or you could take some of these pots that your plants actually come in and just turn them upside down inside of the container and recycle them. You can use them and they'll take up space. Alright, I feel like I've done a lot of chattering here. Needless to say, I'll give you a speedy little video on how I put all these together. So here we go. Alright, you guys, so here's container number 1 with all the ivies in it. And then over here, I had purchased a terrarium many years ago, and this used to be glassed in, and of course during a couple of my moves the glass broke, so I have repurposed it. And for those of you who've been with me for a while, you know I'm all about repurposing. So I have it outside now. I spray painted it black. And that is how I planted that container, with the Japanese bloodgrass sitting in the center, some Dusty Miller, and of course violas, pansies, and some creeping jenny down the front. And I just reused a pot of sedums that I had on the back deck to put underneath it there. And later on I may add some little pumpkins and things in October to dress it up for Halloween. And then again a view of the other pot with the Mexican feathergrass, ivies, heathers, kale, and of course the Hypericum, which is sitting in the back, St. John's wort, with the beautiful cypress that is sitting here in the middle, gold leaf cypress. So hopefully that gives you some inspiration and some ideas on what to do with plants you already have to build some containers for fall. Alright everybody, I hope that has inspired you to get outside, start freshening up some of your pots for the upcoming beautiful season of fall. Now in my next videos I'm going to be covering how to plant bulbs in containers, as well as a layered container of bulbs. And of course I'll be going over some more ideas and things we can do in the garden during the month of September. As we are starting to get towards the end of September here real quick, it's going to be October before we know it. So get out there, get your hands dirty, and I hope we talk soon. Of course, if you have any questions at all, you can get a hold of me at GardnStyleNW.com or email me at GardnStyleNwest@gmail.com. And again, thank you, many thank yous to all the new subscribers who have just signed up. And of course, for those of you who have been with me for a while, thank you to you as well. This channel keeps growing, and I hope to keep inspiring you with more ideas, and of course learn more about plants, how to put them in containers as well as in the ground, And still lots more to do over the next couple, 2 or 3 months. So we're not done yet. So hope to talk to you soon. Take care and bye for now.